Hello everyone, it's Australian Motorcycle News. Peter Bomb here with an update from Japan MotoGP. The Saturday, what happened here? Well, Saturday, as you know, it's about the qualifying and immediately there is the sprint. And the sprint, let's immediately start with the biggest thing from today. That for me, the biggest thing, well, there's two biggest things. There is the return of Pecco, because Bagnaia sort of is back. But let's start with the start, the crash at turn one. I have a still, like a screenshot from the video, and we see Jorge Martin coming out of control from the back on his Aprilia, and he's about to hit Marco Bezzecchi. I mean, you can't make that shit up. He's going to T-bone his teammate, taking him out of the race. And if you see how close everybody is still together at the start of the race, it's like a miracle that this man that is going to crash and then take out this man, only himself and his teammate is taken out of the race. I take this picture as an example to explain you guys how this crash can happen, because I think Jorge Martin's going to get a penalty for this. Actually, he's got already his penalty, because as I can read it here, he has a displaced fracture of his collarbone. He did a collarbone by that. Obviously, when you're out of control, braking way too late and destroying other people's races, at the way the regulations are at the moment, he will quite likely get a penalty for that. But I also have to point out that how silly it might look what he did. The way the MotoGP bikes at the moment are makes it like easier to make a mistake like that. With normal motorbikes, it's quite difficult to do a really good start, because they either spin the rear or they wheelie or they do both at the same time. So in the time between you starts and you brake for turn one, a lot of position and meters are changing. People have a good start, people have a bad start, and then they line up into turn one. The way the MotoGP bikes are, they're all like strapped to the ground, have launch assistance control, and they all make a very fast start, but all make a very fast start. So in the end, you arrive at turn one and everybody is still as a whole group together. So if you make a little mistake, it's bowling time into turn one, because you easily take out a lot of riders, which fortunately did not happen here. But the mistake Jorge Martin made is not as silly as it looks like. It is his responsibility. And what I find so weird in this situation is not the crash itself, but the coincidence, how everything goes quite bad actually for Aprilia this weekend. And like we said yesterday, Marco Bezzecchi crashed twice yesterday. Jorge Martin crashed twice yesterday. They both had a shit qualifying session, and then one take out the other in the race, and one has a collarbone. And Marco Bezzecchi is on his way of recording now to the hospital to have his leg checked, because probably that's damaged as well. So, which has a lot of consequence, because for me, Marco Bezzecchi was fighting for P3 in the World Championship. He's P4. Pecco Bagnaia is in P3, but the way Marco Bezzecchi's season is going and the way Pecco Bagnaia's season was going, it was like, okay, towards the end of the season, Marco will probably be 3, which is an unbelievable result for him on the Aprilia. Well, a lot of things changed today, because we had a race result where Pecco was winning for Marc Marquez, Pedro Acosta and Joel Mir, which is quite spectacular for me. That Pecco is really, really back. We have seen a couple of times in the last race that he was talking quite optimistic, maybe had one session, but it was never really good. He put it on pole here. I mean, he also put it on pole a couple of races back in Brno, but that was like a little bit of a lucky pole, because in the end, when everybody was going faster, there were a lot of yellow flags and nobody could really improve his time. So this one, solid pole position on himself alone, and then having the whole shot and having the win, never look back. Okay, that was quite special to see him completely back in one time here. Having Marc Marquez on second place is normal. Marc's agenda for this weekend is wrap up the championship. Don't take any extra risk. I want to leave Japan as a world champion, and then we start to see what will happen in the next couple of races. So Marc's second, Pedro Acosta third, and Joel Mir fourth. Cool from Joel Mir, qualifying on the front row, having a fourth position in Honda owns the place literally. Good timing, and it shows how far Honda has already come, because there were more Hondas. Yesterday we had 3 Hondas in the top 10, so yeah, they again made a really good step. Who also needs to make steps is KTM. Because okay, we have Acosta starting on the second row and qualifying on the front row, but too much stuff goes wrong more or less at KTM at the moment. Last race in Misano we had 3 chain failures over the weekend with over 2 KTMs. Today we had Pedro Acosta going out in qualifying and then the throttle wasn't working, had to come back, and they changed the throttle and did some remapping, and then he had only 1 go in qualifying too. Normally everybody goes out 2 times with a fresh rear tire. He could go only once, still put it on the second row, so fast enough, and then made a podium in the sprint race. But that in total, in the sprint race, Bastianini's bike stopped. So that's a lot of things for one manufacturer in a short time. So can be coincidence, but I'm a little bit worried for how things are at the KTM side. Alex Marquez, P2 in the World Championship, not going to become World Champion, is an example of how things can also go a little bit wrong, just like with Aprilia. But with Aprilia, yesterday was strong, but they just have different types of problems. Alex Marquez just can't find the lap time, can't find the speed on this track. Had to go to Q1, just made it from Q1 to Q2. But if you do that, if you go from Q1 to Q2, suddenly your problem being in Q1 turns out to be an advantage because you got an extra tire and you got very recent 5 minutes ago know-how about the track condition. You're already in the shape. It's often the case that people who go from Q1 to Q2 do a really good Q2 as well, but he couldn't do it. He qualified 9 and he finished 10 in the race, had a big moment that he had to save it on his knee. So for me, that's an example of a little bit of odd track, gives some odd results as well. That was it for the MotoGP. The good news for the Australian listeners or watchers for you guys is Joel Kelso in P3. Yesterday was good, today's qualifying was good, did it completely alone, their lap time, so solid pace he has, which is not the same that can be said for Jacob Rulstone. He suffers, probably also because this track is a little bit weird, but P22, that's like not really there, but the other guy that's also not really there is Senna Aegis in P20, while his teammate is on pole. So that's again an example of this track is so weird. If it doesn't shoot you, you don't just position or qualify 5-6 places less high than you normally know. You can immediately be completely in the back. So that's what Senna Aegis is, and so it's going to be like damage salvation thing here. He's not alone, Kan Onshu, no Kan. I can't remember the name, but one of the other guys that is in the top 3 is also somewhere around Senna Aegis position, so it's not that easy. Jack Miller was doing actually quite a good race because Fabio Quartararo finished 6th, which is the best possible with the Yamaha here. He was really, again, riding out of his skin. And Jack was riding in P10 until in the last lap he lost the front. A bit silly because, okay, he was defending, but the guys behind him were not really on his wheel anyway. He lost the front on out of P10, and that's it for the Australian riders. See you back tomorrow with an update from the main race. Thanks for watching. Bye everyone.